This is indeed an exciting time here at Bellarmine. What with the record number of degrees being awarded today, the largest freshman class in history set to arrive next fall, plus an array of new construction, new faculty, and new degree programs, an impressive fundraising campaign. Most importantly, the 2011 Division II men's basketball champions. And a Final Four team this year. You know, with all that's going on here, it's obvious that Vision 2020 wasn't just a pie-in-the-sky plan, but it was a roadmap toward deserved acclaim for one of the nation's preeminent private institutions. So, to you, congratulations. I thank you for inviting me to share this day with you. And I'm reminded of some advice that my father gave me when I was about your age in terms of speeches. He said, "Son, the best speech is a short speech." Now, I have to tell you, my dad was a Baptist preacher. And I never heard him one time take his own advice. But I'm going to try to follow that old adage of don't do as I do as I say. I do appreciate so much being honored for my work with Governor Daniels on infrastructure and economic development issues, particularly the Ohio River bridges connecting Jefferson County and southern Indiana. We expect to begin construction at the end of this year or very early next year on the downtown part of that project. It's been talked about for 40 years. 40 years. That's nearly twice as long as most of you all have been alive. This region has been trying to improve the connection across the Ohio River since the days of President Johnson. Now, that is LBJ and not Andrew Johnson, who, as you all know, followed Abraham Lincoln. Now, the disciples of conventional political wisdom might be a little surprised about our progress. After all, I'm a Kentuckian and I'm a Democrat, and I'm supposed to have a built-in aversion to the likes of Governor Daniels, who number one is a Hoosier, and number two is a Republican. And he's supposed to feel the same way toward me. But you know, Governor Daniels and I don't think like that. We don't see things like that. We may not agree with each other's politics all the time, but we both understand that most problems transcend partisan considerations. When you're stuck in traffic for hours and you're late for work or class, or your son has a wreck caused by a confusing interchange, frankly, the words Democrat and Republican really don't mean much. So early on, Governor Daniels and I sent a message, a clear message. These bridges were going to be built for the good of this region, for the good of this state, for the good of this country, and we were going to work together to get the job done. You know, in a sense, it's a sad reflection on this nation that such an attitude these days is an anomaly, and that it becomes so noteworthy as to deserve recognition like Governor Daniels and I are receiving today. Don't get me wrong, I am greatly honored by the awarding of this degree by Bellarmine University. But elected leaders working together should be the rule and not the exception. Unfortunately, these days, too many political leaders put politics ahead of the people of their state or the people of this country. Guided by a rigid ideology that leaves no place for collaboration and favors rabid attacks over civil discourse. Most folks simply object and obstruct. My friends, this country is being ripped apart by partisan rancor. We are polarized, we are paralyzed, and the people are the ones that are suffering because of it. You, our future leaders, must resist becoming another voice in what has become an acrimonious national shouting match. You must resist lending your energy and your time to those who scream. After all, screaming does not foster unity. It only makes people cover up their ears. Don't be a part of this. Be better than that. Be the generation that shuns the politics of division and intolerance. Be the generation that puts aside differences and learns to sit down and listen to each other, to fashion solutions from diverse suggestions. You know, you all are growing up in an era where communication and interaction are easier and more instantaneous than ever before. Thanks to handheld electronic devices, probably several of you are looking at those instead of listening to me. Cutting-edge software, new social media platforms. These are amazing tools. But like the superpowers of cartoon fame, they can be used for proverbial good or evil. Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, all can be used to foster conversations. But they can also be used to spread vitriol and hate, to undercut and to destroy. So I challenge you today to use those powers wisely and to adopt an approach of respectful dialogue, of unity, and shared interest. I know that all sounds hokey. But folks, there are times when hokey works, when it has tangible, real-life benefits. The Ohio River Bridges Project is just one example of that. Frankly, collaboration is about the only way that success happens in the world of government. I've been governor now for 4.5 years. 4.5 years in which we've tried to do things a little bit differently. As you've recognized from my work with Republican Governor Daniels, I'm a big fan of partnerships, of bringing people from many viewpoints together and of sitting down with my so-called opponents. So I've tried to create those partnerships, not just between Democrats and Republicans, but also between the public and private sectors, urban and rural areas, management and frontline workers, different branches of government, different levels of government, and yes, among our high schools and our universities. Yes, there are honest differences of opinion, and there are philosophical divides that simply can't be brought into alignment. But we can, I would submit to you, we must find common ground, the areas where we can agree. By doing that here in Kentucky, we've been able to make some real progress on some fundamental problems that have held us back for generations. Problems like an unhealthy population, a workforce that is not as educated, talented, skilled, trained as it needs to be, an inefficient state government, an ineffective judicial system, an economy that needs modernizing, early childhood programs that allow too many children to begin their school years behind. In a recent session of the General Assembly, leaders of the House and Senate came together with me and other constitutional officers to strengthen the tools that Kentucky can use to fight the devastating problem of prescription drug abuse. You know, the final product wasn't what everybody wanted, but we all agreed that the need to act was critical and it was urgent, and so we compromised, we collaborated, we cooperated, and because of that, the people will benefit. Working together is half the battle. The other half is setting an agenda to focus on big problems rather than the next headline or the next election. I want to create a Kentucky where every child, regardless of whether he or she lives in the inner city, in a mountain hollow, on a farm in the suburbs, every child is guaranteed the potential of a life of promise and meaning. A Kentucky where every child is given the opportunity and the ability to succeed. We're not there yet. Too many Kentucky children enter school with preventable health problems, with undeveloped minds, and with no sense of curiosity or engagement in life around them. And because of that, too many never catch up. You all are receiving your degrees from Bellarmine today, and that represents folks who have succeeded. You've overcome individual challenges and stand here today armed with a degree from one of the best institutions in the United States, poised to enter a new phase of your life. But I also urge you to step outside your normal sphere of interaction and comfort, to fight for progress, to make the proverbial difference in your communities and in your state. And I especially urge you to proceed in a manner that builds bridges and doesn't tear it down, that builds alignments, builds alliances, not attack groups. And I urge you to think big. Fundamental change pays off, but it takes a while, far longer than any one governor can do, far longer than any one generation can do. But you can be a part of it, and that's what I urge you to do as you step out on the next lap in your journey. Congratulations to each and every one of you, and congratulations to all of your family who are here to celebrate with you. Thank you very much.